Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo here on The King in Giallo. Our next stop on our journey through giallo cinema is the third giallo film from Sergio Martino, All the Colors of the Dark, released in 1972. Well, let's waste no time and get right into it. Here is All the Colors of the Dark overview. All the Colors of the Dark, also called Tutti colori del buio, They're Coming to Get You, and Day of the Maniac, is an Italian and Spanish co-production released in Italy on February 28, 1972. The film is directed by Sergio Martino, written by Ernesto Gastaldi and Sauro Scavolini, and music is composed by Bruno Nicolai. The cast is comprised of Edwige Fenech as Jane Harrison, George Hilton as Richard Steele, Nieves Navarro, billed as Susan Scott, as Barbara Harrison, Ivan Rassimov as Mark Cogan, Julian Ugarte as J.P. McBrian, Marina Malfatti as Mary Weil, Jorge Rigaud as Dr. Burton, Luciano Pigozzi, billed as Alan Collins, as Francis Clay, and Dominique Boschero as Jane's mother. The plot follows Jane Harrison, a woman suffering from recurring nightmares since a car accident caused her to miscarry. Her past trauma is further exacerbated by the haunting memory of her mother's murder, which she witnessed as a child. Now, she is plagued by visions of a mysterious man who appears both in her dreams and in real life. Her fiancé Richard is supportive but dismissive of psychological treatment, while her sister Barbara encourages her to seek psychiatric help. However, Jane finds an alternative path through her enigmatic neighbor, Mary, who introduces her to a satanic cult. Promised relief from her pain, Jane is drawn into the sinister world of occult rituals, but as those around her begin to die, she is left questioning her sanity and reality itself. Sergio Martino's third foray into giallo filmmaking demonstrates his growing stylistic confidence, cementing him as one of the genre's most inventive directors. The film opens with a striking nightmare sequence that surpasses the dreamlike paranoia of his earlier The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, 1971, and rivals the hallucinatory delirium of Lucio Fulci's A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, also 1971. This opening immediately sets the tone for a film that blends psychological breakdown, horror, mystery, and satanic cult paranoia into an intoxicating cocktail of unease. Martino's ability to blur the lines between reality and illusion is on full display, using his signature visual techniques, distorted camera angles, stuttering effects, crash zooms, and colored lighting to immerse the audience in Jane's unraveling psyche. The film forces us to share her disorientation, leaving us unsure of what is real and what is a figment of her deteriorating mind. The narrative takes an unexpected turn with the introduction of Jane's enigmatic neighbor, Mary, who lures her into a satanic cult. At this point, Martino unleashes his full visual arsenal, heightening the surreal horror and paranoia. The film masterfully keeps us guessing about the supernatural elements. Are they genuine occult forces at work, or simply the manifestations of Jane's mental collapse? While the final reveal leans into the theatrical, it remains satisfyingly in line with giallo's love for shocking twists. In an interview, Martino revealed that Rosemary's Baby, 1968, was a key inspiration, which is evident in the film's themes of paranoia, sinister neighbors, and the horrors of impending motherhood. The parallels extend to the way Jane, much like Mia Farrow's character in Polanski's film, becomes increasingly isolated, unsure if her experiences are real or the result of psychological manipulation. The screenplay is credited to Spanish scenarist Santiago Moncada, known for Hatchet for the Honeymoon, 1970, and The Corruption of Chris Miller, 1973. However, longtime giallo writer Ernesto Gastaldi has claimed sole authorship, stating that additional writing credits were often given for co-production agreements rather than actual contributions. Gastaldi's signature style is certainly present. The script is full of Freudian analysis, psychological breakdowns, and a sharp pivot into the grotesque, elements also found in his earlier works like The Murder Clinic, 1966. His knack for juggling multiple narrative threads before tying them together in unexpected ways is on full display here, making him one of giallo's most revered screenwriters. Visually, Martino goes all in on the film's nightmarish atmosphere. His use of distorted lenses, rapid zooms, and unsettling angles rivals the dynamic camera work of Umberto Lenzi's late 60s thrillers, yet serves a deeper purpose, mirroring Jane's fractured reality. The English setting adds a layer of contrast, creating an environment that feels both familiar and unnervingly alien, heightening the sense of displacement. The cinematography by Giancarlo Fernando captures both the cold sterility of Jane's waking life and the feverish intensity of her nightmares. The mansion where the cult rituals take place, which Martino discovered while scouting locations in England, becomes a character in itself, a decadent, gothic space brimming with occult menace. Interestingly, Martino had initially considered filming in Ireland, which might have lent an even eerier, more isolated feel to the setting. Bruno Nicolai's score is often cited as one of the greatest giallo soundtracks, drenched in sitar-laced melodies and ethereal female vocals. His compositions heighten the film's dreamlike tone, bridging the gap between psychological horror and occult terror. The film's costumes, provided by high-end fashion houses in exchange for credit placement, add another layer of period authenticity, reinforcing Jane's role as a woman caught between glamour and madness. A few behind-the-scenes details further enrich the film's history. Martino injured himself while shooting a car sequence, a testament to his hands-on directing style. The eerie opening credits sequence was filmed at twilight, lending it an almost supernatural ambiance. Ivan Rassimov, always a formidable screen presence, was required to wear blue contact lenses to enhance his unsettling gaze, a small but crucial detail that makes his character even more otherworldly. Edwige Fenech delivers one of her most compelling performances here, fully embodying Jane's fragility without reducing her to a one-note victim. By this time in her career, she had already proven adept at playing psychologically tormented women, but she brings a fresh intensity to Jane, making her both sympathetic and unpredictable. While some moments, like her frantic flailing runs, veer into melodrama, her quieter scenes offer real emotional depth. She conveys Jane's pain, paranoia, and frustration with remarkable nuance, elevating her beyond the typical damsel in distress. Her dynamic with George Hilton adds another layer to the film, as his portrayal of Richard keeps the audience questioning his true motives. Hilton plays the character with just enough detachment to make us wonder whether his ineffectiveness is due to obliviousness or something more sinister. Fenech and Hilton had already displayed exceptional chemistry in The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, and would go on to do so again in The Case of the Bloody Iris, 1972. Here, they present a couple bound by shared trauma, but slowly unraveling, giving their interactions a tragic weight that lingers long after the film ends. The supporting cast is a veritable who's who of giallo veterans, reinforcing the film's pedigree within the genre. Ivan Rassimov, fresh off The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward and Cross Current, 1971, once again excels in a menacing role, his piercing blue contact lenses making him all the more unsettling. Nieves Navarro, billed as Susan Scott, adds her usual sharp presence, having already established herself in Death Walks on High Heels, 1971, and The Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion, 1970. Marina Malfatti, who had a brief appearance in Seven Bloodstained Orchids, 1972, and a standout role in The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, 1971, brings a cool mystery to her character. Jorge Rigaud, amusingly cast in a role reminiscent of his turn as a psychiatrist in A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, would later reappear in The Case of the Bloody Iris. Luciano Pigozzi, often called the Italian Peter Lorre, lends his familiar presence from Libido, 1965, and Blood and Blacklace, 1964, while Dominique Boschero, another Libido alum, appears fresh off The Iguana with a Tongue of Fire, 1971. Tom Falegi, recognizable from The Cat O' Nine Tails, 1971, rounds out the familiar faces. The standout among the supporting cast is Julian Ugarte, who plays the cult leader with an eerie, almost Anton LaVey-like presence. His deep, commanding voice and enigmatic performance make him a perfect foil to Rassimov's more overtly threatening character. Though largely known for his work in Spanish cinema, including Malenka, the Niece of the Vampire, 1968, and Paul Naschy's Frankenstein's Bloody Terror, 1968, his performance here is one of his most memorable. His imposing stature and hypnotic delivery add an extra layer of unease, making the cult sequences some of the film's most haunting moments. Ugarte continued working in Spanish horror until his passing in 1987 at the age of 58. All the Colors of the Dark was well received within the giallo community and has since become a cult favorite. While its narrative can feel disjointed at times, its striking visuals, unsettling atmosphere, and Edwige Fenech's performance have solidified its status as one of the most unique entries in the genre. The film is often cited alongside A Lizard in a Woman's Skin and The Perfume of the Lady in Black, 1974, as one of the best psychological horror gialli. The film has been retrospectively praised for its dreamlike quality and bold stylistic choices. Modern audiences appreciate its blending of giallo with supernatural horror, and it continues to be analyzed for its thematic complexity. The film's satanic cult subplot, in particular, has led to comparisons with the rise of satanic panic in later decades. Martino's film is a masterclass in psychological unease. All the Colors of the Dark is an essential giallo, showcasing Sergio Martino at the peak of his craft. Its fusion of psychological horror and the occult, combined with a powerhouse performance from Edwige Fenech, makes it a standout within the genre. While its narrative can be chaotic, its sheer stylistic bravado and nightmarish execution ensure its lasting impact in the world of Italian horror cinema. Thank you for watching this overview video. As of the time of recording this, All the Colors of the Dark can be found streaming on Dailymotion. Stay tuned for my unscripted movie review for All the Colors of the Dark, as well as the Jolly Tally. Comment your predictions for the AZ score for the movie and the final Jolly Tally score. Thank you very much for your continued support. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.